Elena lived in a massive, brightly lit city. The city was always awake. Cars honked their horns all night, trains rushed underground, and millions of people hurried down the busy sidewalks. But for Elena, the loudest noise was not the city traffic. The loudest noise was inside her own head. Elena was 28 years old, and she was always exhausted. Her mind never stopped talking. Every morning, while she drank her coffee, she worried about the future. Will I be successful? Will I be happy next year? What if I fail? Every night, when she lay in bed, she felt sad about the past. She remembered old mistakes. She thought about conversations from years ago and wished she had said different things. Her thoughts were like heavy suitcases that she carried everywhere. Because her mind was always running, she forgot how to enjoy simple things. She forgot how to taste her food, how to listen to her friends, and how to smile truly. One afternoon, a friend noticed Elena looking very tired. The friend told her a story. Far out in the ocean, there is a small green island, the friend said. On that island lives an older woman named Clara. Clara is a master gardener. People travel from all over the world to see her flowers. But they also go to her for another reason. People say Clara has the quietest heart in the world. She teaches a secret to people who are tired of thinking too much. Elena felt a spark of hope in her chest. She needed a quiet heart. She needed a break from the noise in her head. The very next morning, she bought a boat ticket and traveled to the small green island. The boat ride was long, and the waves were rough. Elena worried about the water. She worried about wasting her time. Even on the beautiful ocean, her mind was full of heavy clouds. Finally, the boat arrived at the island. Elena walked up a dirt path until she found Clara's garden. It was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. There were bright yellow sunflowers, deep red roses, and tall green trees blowing softly in the wind. In the middle of the garden stood Clara. She was an older woman with silver hair and warm, smiling eyes. She was slowly sweeping the stone path with a wooden broom. She moved with perfect grace and complete calm. Elena walked up to her. "Excuse me, Clara," she said, her voice shaking a little. "My name is Elena. I traveled a long way to find you. My mind is like a storm. I am always worried about tomorrow, and I am always sad about yesterday. I cannot find peace. Can you help me?" Clara stopped sweeping. She looked at Elena with great kindness. "I understand your pain, my dear," Clara said softly. "You are looking for silence. I can show you where it lives, but first you must do a small task for me." Clara walked into her small wooden house and came back holding two objects. In one hand, she held a flat, round plate made of dark clay. In her other hand, she held a single, perfectly smooth glass marble. Clara placed the glass marble directly in the center of the flat clay plate. "Take this plate," Clara instructed, handing it carefully to Elena. "I want you to walk down this hill to the busy harbor town. Walk all the way to the end of the pier, touch the old lighthouse door, and then walk back up here to my garden." Elena looked at the plate. "That sounds easy," she said. "There is one rule," Clara added, her eyes serious but kind. "The marble must stay exactly in the center of the plate. It must not roll. It must not touch the edge of the plate. If you drop the marble, you must start all over again." Elena took a deep breath. She held the plate with both hands. It was much harder than she expected. The glass marble was very slippery. Even a tiny movement of her hands made the marble start to roll. She had to hold her arms perfectly steady. She slowly began to walk down the hill toward the harbor. That day, the harbor town was celebrating a summer festival. It was incredibly crowded and loud. There were musicians playing heavy wooden drums and shiny brass horns. People were dancing in the streets, wearing bright blue and red clothes. Fishermen were shouting to sell their fresh catch. Children were running in circles, laughing and flying colorful paper kites. The smell of sweet, roasted nuts and salty ocean air was everywhere. It was a beautiful chaos. But Elena did not look at the dancers. She did not look at the flying kites or the laughing children. She kept her eyes locked entirely on the glass marble. She breathed in slowly. She breathed out softly. She felt the ground under her shoes. She took one careful step, then another. When someone bumped into her arm, she quickly shifted her weight to keep the plate perfectly flat. The marble wiggled, but it stayed in the center. The loud world around her began to fade away. The drums, the shouting, the wind, all of it disappeared. There was only the plate. There was only the marble. There was only her next breath and her next step. For the first time in years, the heavy suitcases in her mind were gone. Finally, she reached the end of the pier. She gently touched the lighthouse door with one finger. Then, turning very slowly, she began the long walk back up the hill. When Elena returned to the quiet garden, her arms were aching, and she was sweating, but her face was glowing. She looked up at Clara and smiled a bright, true smile. "I did it," Elena said proudly. "The marble never touched the edge." Clara smiled warmly and took the plate from Elena's tired hands. You did very well, Clara said. Now tell me, Elena, did you enjoy the beautiful music in the town square? Elena looked confused. Music? I did not hear any music. Clara raised an eyebrow. Well, did you see the beautiful red and blue clothes of the dancers? Did you smell the sweet roasted nuts? Elena shook her head slowly. No, Clara, I did not see any dancers. I did not smell anything. I was only paying attention to the marble. I didn't want it to roll. Clara touched Elena's shoulder gently. And tell me, Elena, while you were walking through that loud, busy town, were you worried about what will happen next year? Elena's eyes grew wide. No? Were you feeling sad about the mistakes you made yesterday? Clara asked. No, Elena whispered. I wasn't thinking about any of those things. My mind was completely quiet. Clara nodded. This is the secret you were looking for. The noise in your head only happens when your mind leaves the present moment. When you worry, you are living in a future that does not exist yet. When you feel regret, you are living in a past that is already gone. Elena listened closely, feeling a warm light growing inside her chest. Today, Clara continued, you gave all your attention to the marble. You gave all your attention to your hands, your breathing, and your current step. You were living 100% in the now. And in the now, there is no fear. There is no confusion. There is only peace. Tears of relief filled Elena's eyes. She finally understood. Peace was not a place she had to travel to. Peace was not the absence of loud noises in the city. Peace was a choice. It was the choice to bring her mind back to the present moment, over and over again. The sun began to set, painting the sky in beautiful shades of orange and purple. Elena thanked the wise gardener and began her journey home. When Elena returned to the massive, brightly lit city, the cars were still honking. The trains were still rushing. The city was just as loud as before, but Elena was different. Now, whenever her thoughts became too heavy, or whenever she started worrying about tomorrow, she would close her eyes. She would imagine the flat clay plate. She would imagine the smooth glass marble perfectly still in the center. She would take a slow, deep breath, feel her feet on the ground, and step back into the present moment. And right there, in the middle of the loud city, she found her quiet heart.